No, Eric Bischoff, TNA did not offer as much, if not more, competition to WWE during the beginning of the previous decade than AEW does now. Okay, that statement is just simply false. Okay, this guy, Eric Bischoff, he said this on his 83 Weeks podcast with Conrad Thompson, making these comments about how TNA Impact really did offer as much, if not more, competition than WWE, than AEW is at the moment. And I'm reading through what was said. I'm just thinking to myself, this is just false. I need to make a video on this, okay? I wasn't planning to make a video about this, because I didn't even know this happened until I saw it on one of the wrestling news websites. But now that I've seen this, you guys are getting a video all about this. So basically, Eric Bischoff makes these points about how TNA Impact is offering more competition, or did offer more competition back a decade ago than AEW is offering now. And one of his main points is that, now you've got companies getting excited about 500,000 or 700,000 viewers. Back when, a decade ago, TNA was getting 1.2, 1.4, 1.5 million. Hell, the reaction show, hosted by Jason Harvey and produced by Bischoff, aired at 11 to 12 o'clock following Impact. That drew like 1 million viewers. So that's his point with that. Bischoff, I'm not going to totally slam him because he does say some positive things about AEW being highly competitive and NXT having a 10-year jump as far as a product goes. So this isn't a full slamming of Eric Bischoff. But I need to expose this point. AEW is far more of a competitor to WWE than TNA ever was. And I've got a number of points for this. This isn't just me just making this statement and then that being it. Okay, I've got actually proof behind this. For starters, I've got to make the point about how literally Vince McMahon, this is one of the main points, Vince McMahon back in 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, back in the years where TNA was quote-unquote at its peak and trying to challenge WWE as far as ratings and create a second Monday Night War, Vince McMahon was never desperately offering meaningless jobber talents 5-year contracts worth like $700,000 to $800,000 a year. Okay, Vince McMahon wasn't offering, I don't know, who's a worthless talent from 10 years ago? Mason Ryan, Tyler Rex, to an extent someone like Sin Cara. Vince was never offering them $800,000 a year to try and keep them away from AEW because Vince wanted all of the toys on his shelf and not going to TNA. Okay, that never happened back a decade ago with Impact Wrestling and TNA. Okay, Vince McMahon never genuinely felt a threat coming from TNA Impact because primarily TNA Impact's management, led by Dixie Carter, Jeff Jarrett, and the writing of Vince Russo alongside Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan being involved behind the scenes, Vince McMahon wasn't afraid of them because, one, they were dumb enough to move Impact Wrestling to Monday nights in 2010 to try and start a Monday Night War, even though that backfired miserably, okay? The whole thing with TNA Impact was that they were an alternative in the 2000s. They had Kurt Angle in the late 2000s. They had the X Division. That was super cool. They had the women's division called the Knockouts. It was something different. It was an alternative. It was cool. But then the management decided to move it to Monday nights to compete against Raw. Back when Monday Night Raw was drawing numbers like 4 million viewers, 4.5 million viewers. Like back when Raw was drawing actually good ratings. So TNA Impact moved to go against Raw. And right there, you're never going to be competition when you're going head-to-head with Raw, okay? TNA Impact was literally, back in 2010, what was Impact Wrestling as far as the main event scene? The Main Event Mafia, who was just all WWE, like, old guys, and then Samoa Joe. And then AJ Styles was like the king of the X Division. That's what TNA was, okay? TNA, in that climate, competing with Raw, they were never a legit competitor, okay? And if we're talking about ratings, as Bischoff wants to mention that, AEW gets 700,000 viewers. Back in the day, we got 1.5 million. And then the post-show got 1 million. Listen to this, okay? Here's my point. AEW, by comparison, get better ratings now than TNA did. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that 700,000 viewers is a better rating than 1.4 million. I'm not an idiot, okay? That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm saying is that in perspective and in comparison, so we're looking at it this way. AEW, before the pandemic, was drawing 900,000 viewers, 950,000 viewers to every Dynamite. Okay, compare that to WWE before the pandemic, 2.1 million viewers to Raw, 2 million viewers for Raw. So basically AEW is getting like 45% of Raw's ratings. You compare, 45 to 50. You compare that to TNA Impact back 10 years ago, and we look at, let's say, the premiere episode of Monday Night Raw versus Impact. Literally, TNA Impact, at its absolute height, this was the best Impact viewership ever. The January 4th, 2010 debut against Monday Night Raw on Monday nights, that show drew 2.2 million viewers. A very impressive number for sure. Okay, but then you look at what Monday Night Raw drew. Monday Night Raw drew 5.6 million viewers in that episode. Okay, so just right there, even at TNA's absolute best, their first night against WWE, TNA drew, what, 40% of AEW's viewers. Oh, not AEW's viewers. TNA drew literally, so 2.2 million viewers versus 5.6 million viewers that was garnered by Raw. Okay, right there, that's not even a comparison. Like, TNA drawing, 40% of the viewers that WWE get on for that Raw episode. And then TNA, just after that premiere, they did pretty much what AEW Dynamite did off their premiere on Monday nights, and what Dynamite did back in October. They cut the viewership by like a third. Like Dynamite, remember, in October, their premiere, they got 1.4 million viewers. They cut down to like 1 million. Well, TNA Impact went from 2.2 to like 1.4, 1.5, and they just stayed there forever. Okay, Impact was, getting 1.4, 1.5 million viewers for eternity. Meanwhile, Monday Night Raw was drawing 4 to like 4.2 million viewers every week in 2010, 2011. So Eric Bischoff, you're trying to tell me that when your Impact Wrestling product was drawing 1.4 million viewers every week, and Raw was drawing high 3 millions into the 4 million viewers, that's somehow more competition to WWE than when AEW draws 900 to 950,000 and Raw draws 2 million. So when AEW draws basically half the viewers that WWE's getting, you're trying to tell me that Impact Wrestling drawing a third to like 30% to a third of the viewers that Raw's drawing is more competition? Like, what's the point you're trying to make, Eric? I don't get it. Okay, and not to mention what I mentioned before, this whole AEW effect, where Vince McMahon is freaking out about AEW offering 5-year, $800,000 a year deals to people like Dash Wilder, Scott Dawson, Mike Kanellis, Kalisto, Dana Brooke. Like, Vince McMahon never did that when TNA Impact was at its height, okay? Vince was never shaking in his boots because Dixie Carter or Jeff Jarrett could offer big deals to some random mid-carder, okay? Vince wasn't desperately hoarding his talents like Tyler Rex and Mason Ryan, out of fear that they go to TNA Impact. So, I don't understand this point from Eric Bischoff. I really don't get what he's going for. And then you look at TNA Impact a few years after this, you look to, let's say, a 2014, where Impact, it's still fairly kind of not really prominent. It's definitely gone down in relevancy from 2010. This is 2014, where the Impact logo was like blue and stuff, and they changed their look, and Bischoff and Hogan were gone, so it was a bit less of WWE X guys. But you look at TNA 2014, they're drawing 1 million viewers, 800,000 viewers. TNA Impact in 2014 was dead. And like, by that point, they're nowhere near considering themselves competition. So basically what Bischoff is saying is that TNA in 2010, in 2011, when TNA are drawing 1.3 million viewers every episode, and Raw is drawing 4 million viewers, somehow that makes TNA more competition than when Dynamite gets 900 to 950,000 and Raw draws 2 million. Yeah, I'm not seeing where that makes sense, Eric. I'm really not. Okay, maybe this is the fact that you got fired backstage in WWE and were the scapegoat, and now Bruce Pritchard's on SmackDown doing a terrible job. Maybe that's a result of that. I don't know. Okay, so literally, I'll just finish reading this quote that Bischoff does in his podcast. Some of this is pro AEW, some of it's not. I'll just read through this. So he says, "So it's easy to become myopic and forget about facts relative to the past, but for someone to suggest that this is the first time that WWE's had competition, I'm sorry, I'll take exception to that. I'll take a big exception to that. And again, when any wrestling company, I'm not picking on anybody, and like you, I fully support AEW. There's a lot of people there that I know personally, behind the scenes, in front of the camera. I'm fully supportive of them. I cheer them on. Nothing negative here, but don't get out over your skis and position yourself as though something you're not clearly yet. So basically, Bischoff is just supporting TNA, and also one thing I didn't mention, the question for this was pretty damn stupid. Okay, he was asked a question about whether WWE, their first competition since WCW is AEW. What do you think he's going to say? Of course he's going to shill TNA. He was a big part of TNA competing on Monday nights with Raw. So, yeah, a stupid question, but Bischoff's argument about TNA drawing 1.4 million viewers versus Raw drawing 4 million, and trying to say that that's somehow better than when AEW draws 900,000 and Raw draws 2 million in a time when pro wrestling's dead, pretty much. Like, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. So, yeah, Bischoff supports AEW, wants them to do well, says that NXT's had a big advantage, the Wednesday Night Wars doesn't really matter. I agree with all that. So, that's basically this bonus little video for today. Eric Bischoff, TNA versus AEW. AEW is more of a threat than TNA ever was, okay? I've made the arguments in this video. TNA's management was inept. The contracts Vince McMahon's offering mid-card to, jobber talents just to keep them away from the competition. The ratings that AEW draws, on average, like 40 to upwards of high 40% of what Raw gets, whereas TNA was drawing, 25 to 35% of what Raw was getting back in 2010. Like, you can't say TNA is more of a competitor than AEW is now. So that's the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to like, comment, sub. You guys know the drill. See ya.